My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome back to the show. Eli Delaney here, and we have another amazing guest. So my next guest, we met through a group called CLA, and we ended up getting on a Zoom networking kind of thing, ended up chatting. We ended up getting thrown into a breakout room together, hit it off immediately, had a great conversation. And then recently, just after that happened, she ended up reaching out, letting me know she was going to be in the Dallas area to come to an event. And I was like, okay, let me know when. We're going to have lunch. We ended up having an amazing, amazing conversation. And of course, with the Meet Cool People podcast, because I love sharing all the cool people that I meet, I wanted to bring her on board. So today's guest, Jen Grosso, is a well-being expert, performance consultant with over 25 years experience guiding high performers like executives, entrepreneurs, actors, and athletes. She's an international speaker, an author, a 3-time entrepreneur. So many of us can't just stick to one thing because we have fun with too many things. And she has a specialty in building stress, resilience, and well-being in high pressure industries. So with that said, Jen, thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's amazing to be here again. We had such a good time when I got to see you. You took me through downtown Grapevine. We had such a fabulous time. I'm so happy to be here and to support this really cool podcast. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming and hanging out. And that's what for me, we live in this virtual world where we can we can meet people all over the place. Like I used to tell people, it's so fun doing what I do because sometimes I'll have conversations with 3 different people on 3 different continents in the same day. But nothing compares to actually getting to sit down and have a real conversation in person.
There's something very different about the energy. And like you said, it's beautiful. We get to have so much more available to us. But whenever that opportunity arises to bring it into the real 3D, I'm certainly for it.
Definitely love that. All right. So I already gave people your intro, but kind of give us a little bit more. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else that you want to share with us?
No, I think my company name is the Boldfire Institute. And so that was a change and it developed over time. And I chuckled quite a bit when you said we can't do just one thing. I feel like that should be the title of my life or my autobiography is couldn't do just one thing. And, yep.
That is awesome. So you're working with high performance entrepreneurs generally. And what is it? What are some of the areas when they come to you, where are they stuck?
Yeah. So what I find, at least when it comes to me, is a lot of people understand and know my original background. So I started out as an attorney in big law, which basically means I was in a very high pressure environment, and we worked with a lot of corporations, and I was in litigation. And when people who hear that about me, they feel like I can resonate with who they are, and who they are is generally someone who's achieved success. They're doing really well, but now something has gone awry. Something has become more chaotic. Something has gone. It's shaken them a little bit in some way, and they want someone who understands the pressure that they're under, and because they're used to doing well and performing well, and they want someone who can objectively look at what's going on and help guide them on this next path to get back to who they are and who they feel they should be, performing at a really high level.
Nice. And I love you got that. I think this is why you and I get along so well, because you have something very similar to me. We've got both sides of the brain working at the same time.
Yes.
Because so many people don't. They're very far one side or the other. And I know for me personally, I tend to be more on the analytical side, but I'm like a 70-30 kind of person, which is kind of cool because it puts me in a position where I can talk I can talk to the analyticals. I can talk to people that are fact driven or high performance entrepreneurs. They just want the quick and dirty kind of stuff. And then I can talk to the people that we like to call the woo woo people as well. And it's a combination of both. And then some people
Mhm.
are on the other side. So you're kind of both as well. And I think that's why you and I resonate so well. So tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, yes. Well, what I find it's funny too is that a lot of the people who have been performing extremely well and they've been high performers, high achievers their whole life, I think that they often have a secret woo-woo side
Mm-hmm.
that they don't tend to
Right.
share. And once they have a safe space, they're like, "Oh, okay, I can jump into this as well." And really, what I think is really fun about that is that we may call certain things woo woo, but when you find out that those woo woo things are really about energy and really about how to maximize or optimize your energy, I think that can be really useful and a beneficial tool for them. And when they find out too that some of that's not as woo woo as they think and more science based and more based in neuroscience, they can do quite a bit better.
Yeah, and it is. I love that, and it is true. It's sometimes people don't realize that both of it's interchangeable. It really is.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it is. It works together. It doesn't even have to be interchangeable. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a complement. And it can
Mm-hmm.
actually be, for those who shun it and shun the energy work or shun things that are seen as woo woo, like, for example, but like woo woo, meditation once was very woo woo and very
Mm-hmm.
out there. And now it's seen as the high performance tool that it is. And so when you allow yourself to be a little bit more open and to explore some of those tools, they may be the missing piece for you that'll help you get to that next place.
Yeah, and I love that, and it's so funny because when I use the term woo woo, some people are like, "I've never heard that," and then other people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm kind of woo woo woo, aren't I?" And it's so much fun because it's great because a lot of, I wouldn't say most of, but a very large amount of the clients that I've worked with over the years have been in holistic health and different modalities of that. I mean, one of my best friends, she's not just an intuitive, but she literally walks around saying, "Yes, I talk to dead people," and there's a little bit
Right.
of everything. It's like we all have fun with it, and it's all a matter of where our gifts are. But you're right in that they complement each other in that aspect. So
You allow it.
yeah, if you allow it, and I love that. So what's some of the when somebody comes to you, what where are they really stuck? What is the thing that's really like they're they're holding up in one thing that you help them get over, and kind of explain that?
Well, it's a difference, I think, between what they think is keeping them stuck
Mm-hmm.
versus what the digging that I do. I like to think of myself as Indiana Jones, and we're gonna be the art, we're gonna go in and uncover and find the gem of what's really wrong. What's at the root of really what's holding them back. And so what I find is many people think that they are so overburdened, burned out, stressed out because they don't have enough time. Time is the one that they come to me. I could do all of this if I had another me or three me's. I could do all of this if I had better time management, or I could produce more, I could be more productive. And when we start peeling back the onion and really looking what's going on, I often find that it's not the time that's the problem. It's the amount of energy that they have to bring to the things that they're doing. And when we go in and we don't look at just the time, but we do more of an energy audit, we uncover that there's a lot of stress that has built up over time that they've been able to tolerate more so than others, which is why they're performing so well or outperforming lots of people in their industry, because their tolerance was higher, but they have accumulated a load of stress, an allostatic load. And they're finding that they don't even realize it. It's so normal to them. It's like you're addicted to the hormones of stress, like Dr. Joe Dispenza says. And they don't even realize it. And when we take a look and we start with the foundational piece, and I like to look at the body first, let's look at where you're holding stress in your body and how can we get you to have a better flow in your life where you are attending to your body and what's going on in your system and look at that well-being piece, other things will start to click and work better. And so that might be certain strategies that they think they're stuck on, or certain areas of their time that they think they're stuck on, when really it's the energy and the reserve that they don't really have anymore. And how do we fill that back up so that they are able to do better? Sometimes that means taking some things out, to be honest.
Right. That's usually where I come in, is like, oh yeah, I need to get rid of that and that and that. And I mean, that's kind of some of the stuff I help clients with as well. So it's always good. So if somebody comes from you, and this is kind of a teaching moment here, if somebody's coming from a place of, okay, I'm stressed out, I'm overwhelmed, I'm exhausted all the time, something needs to change, and I feel like I need more time, and they come to you with that whole, if I only had 3 more of me, I'd be fine kind of thing, because I totally understand that. What would be one of the first things that you would have them actually do that would help them kind of get that clarity back?
So first things I'm looking for is an assessment of where are they at. If I'm going to get a lot of pushback on the kinds of things that I want them to do, no, I can't do what you're telling me to do because I don't have enough time. I want you to, basically they want me to give them a second person. And maybe a second person might be the right thing, by the way. It might be hiring someone might be necessary. But what I ask them to do is actually, let's get to a place of real awareness, and that they might not like doing an audit. I have them do a time and energy audit, where they go back and they have to actually look at, almost like when a nutrition coach has you track your calories. Let's get the real data. Let's be honest about what this really looks like. And you probably haven't been objective about your own time. So if you think time is your issue, let's actually track it. And you won't like this, but if you want to work with me and you really want to get to the root cause, we need to figure that out. And just the process of going through, I used to do a time only audit, and then I added the energy piece to it as well, so that they actually had to start becoming more aware of what is their energy, not just how much time they had in their calendar, but how they felt, and connecting to the body and the physical sensations, how they mentally feel about things, their emotions that are attached to them, because ultimately those two things will impact their results, and even how efficient they are at using their time as well. And so when we get that data first, it's a huge benefit.
I love that. That's, I mean, I'm familiar with using that productivity tool of the time tracking, and you go through and you track what you're doing minute by minute for a week. You're going to see where the holes are, what's going on. Right. But I love the fact that you're putting that in there as, let's also track the energy you have with it, because I know for me personally, I know pretty well when my energy spurts are, and when I feel better, when I feel like I'm just not going to be talking to people. Like for me, this call, we're recording this, we started at 10 a.m. because I generally don't speak to humans before 10 a.m. unless it's my barista. Okay? I know that about myself, so when you become more aware of that, that is like, okay, we need to not just figure out where we're spending our time, but how do we feel during those time frames? And I love the fact that you do that. Where did where was the aha to come up with that as the next level of the conversation?
That aha came in during 2020. During 2020, when a lot of business owners started coming to me, they were very, very upset, obviously so, about what they should be doing. Everyone was so focused on what are the next steps, what are the next to-dos. And when I could give the same information, the same strategy to the same type of business owner, and they would have wildly different results. And so whenever I see something like that, I have to take a step back. And then what was different about, person A versus person B in the business that they had. And while there may have been some differences in the actual business, how many team members they had, whether those people were effective, what kind of regulations were impacting their business at the particular time, ultimately it occurred to me was how resilient they were to the stress in the moment, how resilient their system was relevant to whether or not they would be able to execute at all, or if they were able to execute in some ways, how well they could execute. And so I realized I needed to start talking more freely to people about some of the woo-woo and about some of the tools and things that they could do that would relate to their baseline well-being, so that they were calm enough and grounded enough to be able to execute in a way that truly was high performing.
I love that. And it is so good that it is amazing when you figure out some of this stuff and it's like, okay, that's the piece that was missing. I mean, sometimes it really is that simple that it's like, okay, here's that one thing right there. Let's add that in, or just take that out, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That is
And
very good.
and it's not magic. It's not that, it being hydrated. Hydration, water, very simple. You should drink your water, but often you're not, and your brain isn't working as well.
Mhm.
Or meditation, or being mindful in general, or giving yourself, a 5-10 minute walk in nature has the benefit of grounding you and clearing your mind so that you can make good decisions. That good decision might still be that you need to completely pivot your business, which won't be easy, but you can make it from a grounded, calmer, solid place than a reactionary, emotional place where you tend to make less good decisions.
Right. And I do agree with that. That's one of the things that I have found. Like for me, if I take the time, number one is I will take the time and just meditate. Even if it's like 10 minutes. One of the things that I learned early on, I don't even remember how long ago, was what's called the 50-minute focus finder. And it's basically a plan of you work for 50 minutes and you take a real break for 10 minutes. Go walk
Yes.
around, go get your water, whatever that is. And of course,
Yes.
water is one of those things that my water glass is sitting right here and it'll be full half the day because I forget. But those are things that are they're super simple things, but we don't realize how much they're hurting us by not doing these little things. And
Right.
there we're talking 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. I mean, drink your water. You,
Right.
you brought up a really good point. That's so many people. And for me, that was one of the things that I started realizing, that when I'm cautious about it and actually like, okay, I need to make sure that I am actually drinking X amount of water a day. And I know all of a sudden, like within a day or two, all of a sudden, my head's more clear.
Yes.
It's not that difficult. It's difficult to remember, even though I have this silly app on my phone that's supposed to remind me all the time, and then I just hit snooze and walk away. But little things like that, and they're not. Those little things make a big difference. It's funny. The same term has popped up like 5 times in the last week. Small hinges swing big doors. Well, this is another
Right.
example of that.
Yes. And for people who are high achievers, high performers, they don't want to be told that they need to spend 2 hours a day on
Mm-hmm.
meditation. That's
Yeah.
not going to work. And so one of the things that I love doing is finding what are those how can you move the needle just a little bit within 5 minutes or less. And I work with my clients for them. What's going to work for them as well? For some of them, it's not water. They're already fully hydrated. They don't need another glass of water. Right. So we need to go in and find out, what are you doing, what's happening, and being honest with yourself about what is draining your energy and how can you expand your energy in a better way.
Yeah.
And because the reality is, I'm not a magician. There is no woo-woo that's going to give you 27 hours in your day. That won't solve your problem. Like, there's no amount of woo-woo, science, strategy that will do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
The best way to do that is to take this body first approach, so that you are as resilient and you've built up enough capacity to be able to handle whatever the challenges are, whatever is chaos outside or inside, so that you can move forward exactly the way you want to, so that you're performing really at your best and in a way that supports your well-being going forward.
I love that. So let's give some real world examples. Give us an idea of a client that you were working with. And you don't have to say any names or anything, but just somebody who came to you that's been in this situation, and where they were, kind of what did the journey look like, and how did you help them?
Sure. One example, very often people, when they're coming to me, there's some sort of major threat that's coming in that feels like an outside threat to their business, to their life. And they're coming in to say, like, how do I deal with that? So I had a client, and they were involved in the construction side of commercial construction. And their company, they had lots of employees, are required to make that kind of business work well. And they had a very large contract, and they weren't getting paid. And it was a massive impact on their cash flow at the time. And I went in, that was another one where I went right in, and I had the strategies, I had the sheets and the graphs, and this is what we need to do, and the steps and all of the project management things that we needed to do. And when I realized that the people who were charged with executing on all of this, they really needed to be supported in a different way. And they needed to be supported in, just like we said, with what are the things that we can do right now that will help you support your system. Also deal with your mindset as well, because your mindset is really for me, it's body first, mindset second, and then strategy after that. Strategy and execution comes after that. And so what we found was a company that was in serious danger of bankruptcy. They were less than 60 days from bankruptcy. And it required actual strategy. It required renegotiating contracts. It required working with creditors and trying to get receivables in and things like that. So there was definitely real world impact as well. But the more we attended to on a regular basis, managing their physicality and their mindset and what was going on with their thoughts, the better we were able to address that. And within a year, they were out of debt, and they had 3 times their revenue for that year. And they were back into a position of being profitable. 3 years later, they continued on that trajectory, and they radically improved their profits, but also the owners were feeling much better and happier. They were healthier. They were all around. It had a lot of impacts in a lot of areas. So it's also recognizing that you need to keep those practices up over the time frame that it might take for you to get to that ultimate goal. And so also focused on like the smaller goals along the way, so that we didn't get overwhelmed by how are we going to hit these like huge goals over a couple of years. So it's I've heard Gary Vee talk about the clouds and the dirt. And so we would mention the clouds, and this is our ultimate goal, but we would really stay in the dirt and do all of the gardening and the sowing of our seeds and making sure that we were doing all of the things. But that included paying attention to taking care of the body and the mind of the people who needed to do the most amount of work to get to that other place. And it's really cool when you can take a business that's really facing a devastating consequence and turn it around. It helps not only those business owners, but all of the people and the families that work for that company as well. So it was really satisfying.
Love it. And thank you for sharing that, because that was a great story. And I want to bring up something that I caught in that I think is really important to kind of reiterate, is the fact that the maintenance is important. Because we tend to, we get in crunch mode, we get in crisis mode, something happens, we might hire somebody like you to come in and help fix the problem. We fix the problem, and then everything's all hunky-dory, and we just kind of let those habits slide back into the get-go again. And it's like, okay, what do we do to keep consistent with that? What are some of the exercises you can do to just like, okay, we've gotten here, but we need to make sure we maintain this and not forget these simple little things we're supposed to do.
Yeah. And be able to identify the yellow flags and the red flags that might be coming up along the way, that we might be headed in the wrong direction and we might need to, so it's not even like consistency isn't necessarily about it needs to be even.
Mm-hmm.
It might be that it might even be seasonal. We might need to do a little bit extra at certain times in order to, nourish ourselves as people and also nourish the business as well.
Right. Awesome. Yep. So trying to think of the best way to rephrase this next question. Because you brought up so many things that, I mean, these are all things that, as anybody who's listening to this, if you've been an entrepreneur for any time, you know what we're talking about. You've got this. If you're lost on any of this conversation, that means you're still new. Just go with that. And you need to pay attention now because these things are going to happen. You brought up the seasons, things coming and going. Yes. What are some of those red flags we need to keep an eye out for to try to catch things before they actually happen?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that there's lots of red flags. So I think that you need to know your business really well and to also have the outside assistance that you have to notice what are the red flags and the performance indicators in your business. I mean, key performance indicators in your business are super important. And it might be that you're noticing that the time to get paid is starting to look a little bit longer, and that's impacting your cash flow. I always see cash flow as oxygen for your business. And the same thing might be the case for you. Like, what are your personal individual indicators that things might not be going as well? And being honest with yourself. What is the check-in? Are you being a little bit more short with people? Is your sleep is a place that even people might have really good rituals, but they might find that they're not able to get to sleep as quickly because their thoughts are ruminating. Or they might notice that they've let certain things slip, like in their nutrition or their hydration, and they're starting to notice that they're feeling maybe a little bit achy, or they're having more headaches or something like that. Right. There's a kink in the system in some way. With some of my clients that are working with me and we're really dialing in and being really careful, we monitor things like heart rate variability, and we monitor certain stress metrics very specifically. And when we notice something kicking up over time, we start to develop some data and understanding of what is problematic for them. Because, by the way, I might be perfectly resilient to certain kinds of stressors that could be very different from what you're resilient to. Mm-hmm. And so that knowing that that there's a lot of bio individuality, and also like there's so much experience in our past that might be at play. It tends to be really individual of what can come in, but certain things, sleep, you're not feeling well, you're short with others, your relationships are starting to show some signs of tension, that might be an indicator for you.
Awesome. Love it. This has been great. This is great stuff. And I think, for everybody listening, you need to come back and listen to this one more time, because Jen gave a whole bunch of ideas of not just, okay, what's going on? How do we track it? How do we help solve some of the problems? And how do we maintain that? Which, as entrepreneurs, and this is all high achievers, but most of us are entrepreneurs in this arena. As entrepreneurs, these things happen. We are going to get hit with that. We are going to have those energy spurts up and down. We're going to have, like you and I were talking about this just before we hit record, there's a lot of chaos energy going on right now in the world. And those kind of things are all going to affect you, and how you deal with it and how you can keep maintaining yourself and your business during all that is the kicker behind this. So I love all the stuff you shared today. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We got 2 questions for you.
Sure.
Second to the last question is, this is the Meet Cool People show. So what does meeting cool people mean to you?
Meeting cool people is one of the things that I get such an incredible amount of joy for as long as I can remember. It's not only been a part of my core values, but really something that's in my DNA is to be curious about people. I think it's so enriching in your life, and it can be it can really just expand your viewpoint when you're open to meeting new people who have different perspectives, who can look at things and teach you about a whole different way of looking at things. And I get such an incredible amount of joy around that. And I hope that and to figure out what makes them tick, because it's such a joy. And I hope that I'm adding value to them along the way as well. I just think it has a ripple effect that really improves things for people's lives if you can be curious about people and be open and willing to meet them.
All right. I could not have said that better myself. I love that. It's like what makes people tick, because that is one of my favorite reasons for meeting cool people as well. So I love it. All right. So with that said, let's finish this up. Yes. People are going to want to find out more about you. What's the easiest way for people to get a hold of you?
Well, you can find me. You can find me at my website, boldfireinstitute.com. You can find what's going on there. You can find some basic information. You can also follow me on LinkedIn as well under Jennifer Grosso. You can follow me there, and that's a great place. And you can also find my contact information if something resonated with you and you want to reach out and have a chat, no obligation chat. I'm more than happy to talk with people. And I'm also very happy to forward people on. Part of meeting cool people is I might not be the right expert for you, but I love passing you on to the right expert for you. And I love to share that wealth and that knowledge and the gifts that other people have if I can.
That is awesome. Love it, love it, love it. All right. So Jen, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. It has been a pleasure getting to hear more about what you do, because you and I have conversations on all kinds of stuff. Very rarely do we actually talk about what we actually get to do. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And
thank you so much.
Yeah. And with everybody listening in, get out there, have an amazing day. Thank you again. And I look forward to talking to you sometime soon. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. If you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to followuprockstar.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to followuprockstar.com and we'll see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rockstar.